Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning to our West Coast people. Thank you today for joining us for our first session in our Portus Lunch and Learns. Today, we are going to do comprehensive financial insights. If you guys have any questions throughout the event, please throw them in the chat, and then Bill and the team would be happy to answer it. If you guys have any afterwards, you can contact any one of us here on the screen. You can contact Jim Castellano, myself, Jessica Canellis, or your Made to Manage account manager, James Cooey. So we will go ahead and kick this over to Bill so we can get started.
All right, thank you, Jessica. I'm
Me.
just getting used to this interface. I need my
Hold on
share
one
button.
second. I gotta. There we go.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you everybody for joining our Lunch and Learn. Just two slides to set the context for today's meeting. First, some very quick information about us as a company. We are a 16-year-old company, and before those 16 years, we also have extensive multi-decade experience in manufacturing. So we started as manufacturers, we've walked in your shoes, got frustrated with the level of analytics and reporting that was available to us and decided to build Portus. And then since 2012, we've been building on top of Made to Manage. So today, I can humbly say that we are experts in the Made to Manage database and schema and have seen all kinds of situations at multiple companies with different kinds of dynamics. So what are we trying to do? If we put it into one wordy sentence, we're trying to build curated, meaning they are surgically designed to do exactly what they need to do in a manufacturing environment. What does the best bill of material report look like? What does the best WIP report look like? The best job cost analysis report look like? So they are very carefully curated from our manufacturing background, and then really for the past 14 years of building on Made to Manage and working with customers and continuously taking their feedback and making our product better. So you're talking about a very refined, highly evolved solution here in Portus. And what we deliver is real-time analytics, meaning it is linked to your data Made to Manage database, and it's mining that information real time. There is no lag. And then we slowly peel the onion on anything we look at by continuous drill down into more levels of detail. And probably the best thing about it is that it's delivered in a browser platform, so you can get to it very easily, and there's nothing confusing or scary about it. You don't need a training manual to use it. Today we have two audiences in mind. The first audience is existing customers. We invite them just to kind of brush up on stuff, and they could leave saying, wow, I didn't know Portus could do that. And for prospective customers, it takes care of the skip the sales meeting. I just want to see what it does. And now that I see it, maybe I want to learn more, and I'll ask for a personalized demo. Last note, this is a lunch and learn. So for kindly investing your time and looking at our solution, we will be sending you a $25 Starbucks gift card within 48 hours of completion. So then, before we go into the webinar, let me just tell you our sales process is to reach out to people, invite them to webinars, and hope that that turns into a personalized demo that's more interactive. You're going to see once I get into the webinar over the next 25 minutes, I'm going to be moving so fast because I'm not going to be interrupted with questions. I'm not going to know if anybody looks confused. I'm not going to hear something like, wait a second, slow down. I need to see that a little bit closer. And then after the demo, we would go to a 30-day free trial, because until you see all of this with your own data, you will not really know if it's worth it. And we are so confident that this can really be a game changer for your entire business that we have, ever since the beginning, always sell Portus on a monthly subscription basis with the ability to cancel at any time. We've walked in your shoes. We hate the, oh, you're now committed for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and what if you don't like it? So really, after the free trial, we're kind of on a paid trial on a month-to-month basis. No one has ever canceled Portus. So all we're asking you today is to answer one question. Do I see enough to warrant investing in a 1-hour demo where I can really kick the tires on it and see if I want the organization to invest the time in a trial? Okay, let's go to Portus. Portus is browser-based. The first page on Portus is going to be a login screen. This Portus is interactive with on-prem made-to-manage installations and Aptean cloud installations, and we even have a customer that has their own cloud installation. So it really does not matter to us. I will say that most of our customers are on-prem made-to-manage customers. So Portus is outfitted with its own administrative module, which allows you as the administrator to control who in your organization has access to what information. And even within reports, you can control very minutely elements that people have access to or not. Once you're inside Portus, it's organized in a series of tabs. Clicking on any of the options or the tabs at the top opens up this left-hand menu panel. Sometimes when you click on a report, it asks you some questions first before it gets going. Today, we're going to start at the company performance dashboard. We'll go ahead and click here. Right now, while that wheel is spinning, Portus is communicating with a test made-to-manage database that we have, and it comes back. It ran 6 queries very quickly and comes back with an overview of top line type number, something that an executive team would look at. Bookings is orders coming in by quarter in this case. Billings is invoices going out by quarter. Backlog is open sales orders bucketized in future dates based on due date. So we have 2.8 million of backlog that has a due date that is before March 4th. And then you can see the rest of March for Q1 and so forth. And accounts receivable aging. So we have mostly current AR. That's good news. Accounts payable aging, and an on-time delivery showing how many shipments we've made and how many have been on time. So that's great that you can see this at a high level. If you're having a meeting with a particular customer, you can do things like filter here and say, well, let me see what's going on with this particular customer. I will take that off and say, well, I want to know more about this. I have some significant amounts that are past due in AR. Oh, AR is blue and underlined. So I will click on it and it opens a new window. We have just transitioned drilling into the accounts receivable summary report. Now this report, hopefully people in the audience will determine, hey, this looks like it's been put together by people that have done this before. So you have the classic, how much of your $8.6 million of AR is current, buckets of past due, and then the total past due. But there's more information here that would be relevant in analyzing this. What is the credit limit of the customer? What are their payment terms? What is the open sales orders? If I have somebody that has a lot of past due backlog, I may not want to ship a bunch of stuff. I have their status. Out here, I'm calculating average days to pay over the last 30, 90, 60 days. I'm going to do some Portus manipulations here and say, sort this in descending order by this really late category, and also filter this for me for anything that is greater than 100K. So now I have a hit list of customers spearheaded by the United Healthcare Group. Now that is not good. Out of the 295K of AR, 173K is in this bucket. I do have some more stuff that they need, so that kind of is scary. They're firmly under their credit limit, so that's not a problem. I need to know more about this customer. Well, the customer number is blue and underlined. I click on it and it opens another window. And at this now, we're seeing the a customer aging report, which is open AR for this customer by invoice. So we're seeing the invoice level for the first time, and we see, wow, that 172K in that over 90-day bucket is one invoice. We sent it out on August 16th. That particular invoice was actually due on September 5th. And interestingly, we have a partial payment on it because it was a much larger invoice, but we still have some amount outstanding. Oh, I want to know more about that invoice. So now I'll click on that invoice and I'll see what we shipped. We shipped 74 of this assembly at $6,000 almost a piece. There was a payment made back in December, but that was not for the full amount. So that's where we stand. So if I just start closing my drills, you're going to see that we started out at a high level looking at accounts receivable, and within a few clicks, and hopefully as I was doing that, the people in the audience said, wow, I could do that. That doesn't look that complicated. We were able to get to the DNA level of a particular invoice. This is what I talk about when I talk about a curated experience. And all of this and everything else I show you would be available to you literally the next second after we install Portus in your environment, because it'll connect to a made to manage database that it's seen everywhere with other customers as well, and say, okay, I'm now connecting to this particular made to manage database. That is our first mini demo to get you acclimated to how we move around Portus. Today's session is specifically about financial reports, so we're going to spend a bunch of time in the finance tab. I will say there is reports under the other tabs that could be very important for financial analysis. Purchase price variance, excess inventory, all are in different areas here. But let's focus in finance, and let's first start at some top line type of analysis. I'm going to go ahead and click on the shipments report, and it's immediately going and getting a significant amount of historical shipments. And quickly it comes back and says, okay, I'm showing you shipments by customer trended monthly with amounts here at the bottom. I can say, well, I was hoping to see this by product class. Okay, then we'll switch that up and we'll show it by product class. I wanted to see it by salesperson if you're coding those in Made to Manage, or I want to see it by part number. So here's all my part numbers of shipments over the last 13 months or so. Now we come back and say, well, you know what? Let me just look at it quarterly. And I want to see not dollars, but units of shipments by part number. And now I can start even using these filters saying, well, I want to see this for our customer Nordstrom. So this says that for Nordstrom, looking quarterly at units by part number, this is what we've shipped. And you say, well, I'm really interested in these 69 of this part number that were shipped in Q3. Every number in here is drillable. So if I click on that 69, it'll go and come back and give me the shipper, the sales order that drove that transaction. So it was a single shipper. We have the tracking number, the sales order, and we see the 69 units that went out. This presentation is our pivot presentation. People in finance, a lot of them have worked with pivot tables in Excel, which is just an incredible tool. This is our, if you will, Portus/Foreman's version of pivoting. You're able to take a single grid and convert it into various analytics by playing with the report by and the trended and so forth. Let me also just take an opportunity, because I always forget this. I need to show this once in here. Anytime you have a grid, a system of columns and rows, you, besides this filtering and sorting that you can do all over the place, you also see an Excel icon. Clicking on the Excel icon will allow you to export what you're seeing into Excel. And what you're going to see there is a bona fide Excel spreadsheet. So you're going to be able to immediately interact with this as an Excel spreadsheet and start inserting your own columns, putting in your own formulas and so forth. So very good interactivity with Excel. Let me then say, once you're used to shipments in this view, you can look at other top line dynamics. So now I'm interested in orders coming in. So maybe I'll run the bookings report. It'll go get all of this historical information about bookings, but the interface is the same. And we have billings also, which is invoices going out rather than shippers. And backlog is in the family, is slightly different because first of all, it says we think that you consider backlog to be just open sales orders. You may say, no, I actually want to include some of these other statuses, but I'll hit go here. This one now uses, and I'll just do it quarterly so it's a little bit more streamlined. It uses the due date of the sales order to look forward and tell you when you're going to expect the shipments to occur by due date. So if the Chicago Blackhawks have 364K of past due backlog, I should be able to click on that 364. There it is, and I should see that the due date for all of these has come and gone. They have, due dates on this first page anyway, ranging from October of last year to March of this year. So that is, we've quickly looked at backlog, bookings, billings, and shipments. For the next demonstration, because it involves some pretty in-depth margin analysis, I'm going to go to a different website, a different made-to-manage database, because it has much nicer cost dynamics. So now let's say that's good. I've taken a look at AR. I've taken a look at just top-line revenue, but I want to do some margin analysis. There's a bunch of different margin analysis reports in Portus. One of my favorites is invoice analysis. We just ended the calendar month of February. So let's say you want to analyze revenue and margin for the month of February. So I'll say run this for me from February 1st to February 28th, go. So this is going to go and bring back all the invoices that were sent during that time frame, but also bring back a bunch of other information about those invoices and give you specific insights into margins. So there's a lot of information. There's our invoices kind of lined up by invoice number, when the invoices went out, the customer, the part number, the invoice. Let me do something here. I'm going to click on these three little dots, by the way. It's a little navigational trick. I can get the menu out of the way, and I can always bring it back. Then I see the sales order. Very important that invoice was linked to. And very importantly, I see the source of the sales order. The audience is very familiar with made-to-manage concepts. A sales order can have a source of M, that's a make-to-order sales order, S coming from stock, or you can even have Bs, which are for buy-to-order. And then we see the shipper, and then we see the source. So if it's a source M, we're going to see a work order. If it's from a source S, we're going to see the location that it was shipped from. And then based on that, we're going to see the actual costs and the estimated costs. But before I show you what you can do with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, first of all, go ahead and sort this for me in descending order by the amount of the invoice. And I see that our invoice 287538 for 85K, which was a source M sales order. By the way, we shipped one. The sales order was for 2, and we shipped it on the shipper that we see. And then we see that we expected, first of all, our actual margins was negative, really bad margins. We lost a bunch of money on it. And our estimated margin was not very exciting, but at least it was positive. So the question becomes, what happens on this guy? So we work order that provided supply to this sales order is that one. I'll go ahead and click on it, and it'll take me and say, yep, there's only one work order. Here's your material, labor, overhead costs. I will then click on the work order, and I will see the detail of the work order, and actually this one had a significant amount of sub jobs that eventually led up to the overall parent job that we're talking about that rolled up the cost that you can see. Now that work order was for 2 pieces. So since we shipped 1, all of these numbers up here for what happened for that shipment are half of these. So then I start analyzing this and I go, wow, first of all, right off the get-go, I see on the parent job that we significantly overshot the labor hours, which drove a significant overage in the labor and overhead costs. So I'm going to want to know more about those labor hours. So I'll click on those. I'll see from the router where the hours came in, and maybe as I go through, I see, wow, in our welding, I really exceeded the hours, which drove most of this. So then I can actually see all of the detailed labor logs of who actually worked in all of the work centers and say, oh, let me look at our welding and see how did I account for all of these hours and maybe do further analysis. But this is, again, a DNA level kind of time card drill that all started from us being interested in a particular sales order and wanting to drill into the details. That's one of the big promises of Portus. I'm going to switch back to that other login very quickly. I'm going to move faster. We've done AR. Let's do one of my favorite reports in terms of analyzing inventory, which is called days of supply. You tell it how you want to measure 1 year's worth of usage. So it could be forward looking or backward looking, which is normally how it's done, or balanced. So in this case, we'll just let it go so I can explain it to you. We're going to use 90 days of history and 90 days of demand and take a look at by part what is our inventory level. So this is all our part numbers. This is the inventory that we have on hand in descending order by amount, and we see at the very end here measurements of the days of supply and then inversely turn. So let's take a look at this third guy. We have 291 on hand. The last 90 days, we had 244 used, that's issued to jobs. 388 in the future, that's looking at jobs that are calling out for this part that we haven't issued to, that have a date, a due date for that component in the next 90 days. That together is 6 months worth. We double that and we say balancing out historical and future usage, our estimated annual usage is 1264. So if we have 291 on hand, that's about 83 days of inventory. So if you took this 1264 and divided it by 365, it would give you the daily number multiplied by 291, and you're going to get the, actually, if you did 291 divided by 1264 and multiplied it by 365, you would see that you have 83 days of supply, and you can then translate that to turns. So a days of supply of 90 will give you turns of 4, and then you can start looking at your parts and seeing what's going on. If you see one that is really not looking right, we have other information in here like, wait a second, has this been sitting around for a while? What was the last date received, last date issued? So in all of these, we have brought in various columns to help you round out your analysis of what you're looking at. We'll keep moving down the finance tab now, and we'll get to AP. We've already done AR. I did not update that correctly. I thought that was updated. I'm going to have to skip that one. I'm going to move on to the trial balance very quickly. The trial balance is our first financial statement report, and you can run it for any date. It defaults to today's date, but let's say you want to look at the trial balance as of February 28th. So when you look at that, it's going to give you the ending balance as of February 28th, and it's going to show it to you 3 times. And then it's going to tell you what the beginning balance was, the changes for the month, the changes for the quarter, and the changes for the year. So since we're in the first quarter, the changes for the quarter and the year are the same. And then I can look at this and say, I want to know more about the accounts receivable accounts. I'll look at this trade receivable and say, what happened here with this 492K of increase in accounts receivable? So when I look at that, I see all of the transaction level GL detail that you would expect to see from Made to Manage. There are only AR transactions in terms of the sub ledgers. As you know, there's 4 types of sub ledgers: AR, AP, OC for order costing, and then you can also have journal entries, but we don't see any journal entries. This is all straight AR. If I was to sort this in descending order, I'm going to see a bunch of invoices. These are invoices that increased accounts receivable, and I can even go into any one of these invoices and see what it was for. Or I can also look at this in ascending order, where the negative numbers are payments that came in from various customers with their check numbers, and we can see what drove that. This is actually a drill to a very much used report called GL account detail. So you don't necessarily need to get to that accounting of the net changes in the account by going to trial balance first. You can do that from the GL account detail by asking for the part number and what time frame you're looking for. Like I should be able to come in here and say, show me trade receivables for the month of February, and that should get me to the same report. Okay, so it is now 10:28. I have a couple of other things to potentially show, but with the amount of time left, it wouldn't do them justice. So let me ask Jessica if there's any questions out there.
There is not.
There's not. Okay. Well, I will then just tell everybody in the audience that this is the first of 4 lunch and learns on Wednesdays at this time. Its focus was financial reporting and analysis. We have sessions coming up on materials management, on job costing and margin analysis, and MRP. And remember that our goal is to get you interested enough to ask for a demo so we can have a more interactive exchange. And if you're interested in that, please contact PeopleSense so that we can get that going for you.
Yes. Thank you, Bill. And thank you, everyone else, for attending today. For next week, if you guys want to join or pass along to anybody else, we will be going over efficient cost management. So if that is any interest to you or your team, feel free to sign up, and we will we look forward to seeing you there. So thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.